Hello, everyone. Welcome to Beers with VCs, where we have casual conversations about the less talked about aspects of venture capital and startup building. We are your hosts, Sabrina Passman and Simon Lancaster. And today we are very excited to be joined by Jesse Chor. He is a seasoned founder. In 2014, he exited his company Spark to Yahoo and is now building his next big thing at Tanda, a workforce management platform that is backed by Sequoia. We are super thrilled to have him on today. Jesse, welcome. How are you doing today?
Doing great. I love that little countdown timer. It's very soothing.
Yeah, actually, this is a new one for this season.
I feel like the
The
music
sound is much better
changed.
than
It's like way less stress inducing.
the last one was like a intense, like you're taking off in a
Rocket
space
ship.
kind of situation.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a little much. All right. Okay. Well, first things first, before we dive in, what's everyone drinking today?
I'm being rude. I'm already drinking. I'm with hot tea. Sorry to intercept here.
Cute.
It is
Dude,
extremely
Come on.
cold
This
in
is
San
beers with
Jose.
VCs. Come on. Beers with
man.
VCs.
It's so cold. It's very cold still for
Hey, I'm just
April.
as cold
Or
as
California, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
true.
all right.
What have you got?
have?
I might hop over and get a beer.
Get a beer.
Go get one. Go get one.
I'll be right back.
Do
All
it.
right.
You do your intro.
No, I'm gonna wait for. Oh yeah, sure. But
Okay,
No, I'm
well,
right
I'll
here.
just
I got
finish
share my
some-
drink once
something
he's
even
back.
better. I'm gonna do a little Irish tea with
Oh,
the
wait.
Centauri.
Irish
Just
tea
straight
sounds
for
not
the
great, but
the
go
rough
for it.
stuff. Okay, this is a great one, by the way. Centauri
Oh.
World
nice.
Whiskey.
Don't
Yeah. It's
tell
a
anyone you're
blend.
mixing that with tea, though.
Yeah.
Why? It's not that. Yeah,
I don't know, man.
I got some here too.
it's the one the Japanese LPs always gift me.
This is
Nice.
one that I was gifted recently. This is not what I'm drinking yet, but it's from also Japanese whiskey.
Oh.
Should
Ooh. Shogun?
Yeah.
Nice.
Camera's no good.
That's what you're
Okay.
drinking?
You gotta do the little
No.
makeup
I
influencer.
got a
You
better
just
drink.
wanna- a better drink.
I got a better drink. All right, Sabrina, what do
Okay,
you
I'm
got?
going
What do you
next. I'm doing this situation. It is a non-alcoholic alcohol, but it's supposed to mimic a whiskey, and its
Ooh.
notes are calm, woody, and mellow. It does not taste like whiskey,
Wow.
but
Does
it's in a fancy bottle, so I'm
wait.
stepping it up from tea at least.
It doesn't taste like whiskey. Does it smell like what is the part that's similar
just
to
It's
whiskey?
like woody, so like there's like that's kind of like
Like-
peatiness. It's not though. It's more
I'm
like
trying to
a
imagine whiskey without alcohol. It's just
Yeah.
smoky water.
smoky water, but it's good. I like it. It's good.
Burnt wood.
Yeah, burnt wood.
All right, Simon. I'm drinking 2 beers. You ready for this?
Whoa.
You're
It's
gonna be
it's cock and bull. It's ginger beer, and so I got.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
I love
so-
ginger beer.
yeah,
Excellent
so
choice. All right,
anyways.
You
we bubbled
tricked
up.
me
We're doing
into
good.
pouring whiskey in my
Yeah.
tea.
Well, that's-
starting the Friday off good.
Serves you right for
So good.
starting with green tea. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, let's
Okay,
dive in,
well-
guys. Super pumped to have you, Jesse. I would love for you to maybe like set the stage with your founder origin story. What pulled you into startup investing, and like talk us through like the early days.
Oh, that's a tough one. Yeah. So third-time founder.
Mhm.
First one, I would say mediocre success. Dropped out from college, did okay, and had to go back to school. Basically, I wanted to go. I'm from Toronto originally, so went to a school called Waterloo, which someone else is here went to as well. And part of that journey is I wanted to come to the States. In order to come to the States, you need a degree, so you get a work visa. And so dropped out of school like third year for 2 years, did this company. And eventually I was like, oh, I really want to go to the States. And so had a mediocre exit, went back to school, finished my degree, became a software engineer, and then worked at Expedia. I love travel. Long story short was traveling in Japan, discovered these things called QR codes, created a company, and we became the world's largest QR code company. And I think to a large degree, we brought QR codes to the world. So we had customers like Zynga, YouTube, a lot of casino gaming companies. Even the U.S. Navy was a customer, believe it or not. And so medical supply chain, newsprint, I go on and on and on. But anyway, so Fish got acquired by Yahoo and did other jobs at Yahoo, and post Yahoo went to Splunk. I was a VP of engineering there. I retired. And then 3 months later, I'm back in the game. So now I'm building Tanda and super excited about that. So yeah, that was a journey of working at big companies, small companies. But I would say this. I've worked at a lot of jobs, including like McDonald's. And the thing I like to frame is I've had a lot of jobs where I hated the job, but I love working there. And so it's always been about culture, team camaraderie. How can we bring and share that to the world? And so that's what we're doing with Tonda.
That's awesome. It makes the fact that you've come out of retirement to build this, I think, just shows like how meaningful a vision this is for you. Before we dive into Tonda and your vision of what you're building there, I'd love to double click a little bit on your like previous history. And you've obviously had some incredible successes. I would love to understand what it was like building your first startup compared to your second, and how you really changed your mentality between the two.
Yeah, there's a lot of changes there. So the first one was like, third year of college, dropping out. And back in the day, like we read about the history, well, Bill Gates dropped out. All these great founders and entrepreneurs drop. And there's a reason why I think they drop out in third year. It's kind of like they built a network enough and they know enough to be successful. And then the fallback plan is, go back to school, right? If it doesn't work out. And so there's a kind of like safety net and cushion. Also, historically, if you drop out beyond third year, it's really hard to go back, because can you imagine that you dropped out after like 1 year of college and you got to go back for 3? So anyways, the wall is really high. So for the first one, it was really a lot of uncertainty, but a lot of excitement around, man, let's just see what happens. And the next thing you know, 2 years fly by. It's like, man, this is really not going where we needed to go. And let's just go finish and do something better.
Yeah. Was that first one venture backed, or was that a bootstrapped one?
No, that was bootstrapped, but we got funding from the school. So believe it or not, the school, like I went to the dean and said, hey, we're dropping out. And he's like, really? What are you guys doing? And we're basically telling we're doing a startup. He goes like, oh, well, since you guys are leaving, why don't you go down to the co-op department? They're just about to launch this program where they're giving funding for students, and you get credit for it if you start a company.
Funding for dropouts. This sounds really like Waterloo.
This is
Waterloo
even better.
Entrepreneurial.
This is even better. So we literally go to the co-op building, walk in, we barge in. Like I remember this guy's name is John Cunningham, and I remember like me and my classmate is Jeremy, my co-founder. We're like going in, we're leaving, we're doing all this stuff, and he goes, honestly, I don't know what the fuck you guys are doing, but you're so excited, we have no option but to give you an offer and fund you. So we're literally the first e-co-op funded company in the school before the program was even announced. And so so we got funding like day one, like dropping out.
I feel like a Canadian phenomena. Like you're gonna leave the companies, the college, stop giving them money, and they're like, hey, let me give you money instead.
Yeah. So and then we even pulled up fast. It's like, hey, mind you, can we get a refund on our tuition?
Yeah. Did that work?
Yes, it did.
What
so
the heck?
very grateful.
Amazing.
Yeah.
America needs to take note, man.
Yeah. So so that was my first company.
Cool.
That's how it started.
That's awesome. And it sounds like it was more. Was it a huge passion? Like, did you know you wanted to be an entrepreneur, and that was kind of the inspiration, or was it really like the vision of what you were building was what enticed you to leave?
Yeah, so the first and second is very different. The first is like, I had all these, like, I used to be a huge Bill Gates fan, so I used to like read all his books, like, I really love to create the great company, all this stuff. And then after that, I was like, I hate startups. I was like, I never want to do another company. Like, who would want to do such a thing? It's like, this is just not for me. And so I was like, my dream was always to work for Microsoft, but it became too big. And then of course, they spun off Expedia. And so when they spun off Expedia, I was like, oh, this is great. I get to work at Microsoft when it was smaller. And so I went back to school, finished, and I graduated. And then I got a job at Expedia, and I loved it there because I love traveling. I love all these things. And so I was traveling Japan, and that's when I saw all these square-looking barcodes everywhere. And at Expedia, we had this tradition where a lot of times when you go on a trip, you come back, you do a slideshow. So you do this big PowerPoint, you share about, hey, here's what we did, here's where we traveled. It's like a lunch, like a brown bag. And so I remember doing a brown bag, and people were like, man, you really like barcodes. I'm like, hey, it's not me, it's the people there.
Yeah.
And then in fact, I was like, yeah, what are those barcodes? I forgot to look it up. And so I literally Googled, it took me half a day. It was not easy to find. And so I finally found like square looking barcode. And I remember looking up on Wikipedia, the definition of QR code. I'm like, what is this thing? And it blew my mind. I was like, wow, the idea of Jesse? 2007. So
pre-iPhone or right around?
Right before iPhone. So iPhone launched shortly after.
Yeah.
So the idea was you take a picture of this barcode and you can embed an intent and unlock that behavior. Like, holy shit, you can like embed anything. Buying something, installing something, calling a phone number, SMS texting. I was like, man, this is amazing. And so I remember telling my friends, hey, you got it. Like, they were building a startup. I was like, hey, I know I hate startups, but I got an idea for you. You got to pivot and build towards this thing because I think it's going to take off. And they're like, what are you talking about? This is like ridiculous. But I do remember one friend, he's like, hey, I'll do it if you do it. And that's what really sparked me, because he was my compiler partner in Waterloo. And I was like, I felt he was very complimentary, where, if he built it and with me, we can build anything. And I was like, sure, if you're in, then I'm willing to try again. And so anyway, so we started this company, Building for the Future. For the first 6 months, we were building APIs and tools for QR codes without a scanner. I've never scanned a QR code before. All I had was this, Wikipedia article and some pictures. I was like, okay, I know the technology is there. If you take a picture, it will work. But I never had a scanner. So we built for the future, knowing that companies one day will need to search for and have APIs and tools and testing. And so we built for that. And then finally I met with this other guy, and for the first time, he showed me a QR code scanner because he's from Japan, and you couldn't get the scanners. They're all from Japan. And I was like, holy shit, it works. So for me, it was really the sense of like building. So the second company was different, where it was building more for like interest and passion, and knowing that, man, this technology is going to take off. It'd be kind of cool if we just get one legit person to use our stuff. And so when we lit up our product, literally in the first day, we had scans from Antarctica. And I'm like, I didn't know they had internet there, because we had IP tracking. So you could look at like all the continents. And I'm like, holy shit, this thing is really working. People are using it everywhere.
Okay, I think there's two things that I want to dive into. One is I want to understand the impact of mobile on your startup. I feel like you were positioned perfectly time-wise to hit that wave right at the beginning. So I want to circle back on that. But I think first, like, what were you building without a scanner? I guess it feels like you're so forward thinking. Like, I guess you were anticipating that like all companies would eventually have scanners, like it would leave Japan and become global, and you were just at the beginning of that forefront. Is that how did you predict that, or what was your gut saying at that point?
So I was working backwards to this vision. It's like, man, a QR code would be on every table, every menu, every printed medium, and online on every website, and every business card.
Basically, you envisioned COVID.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then I work backwards to, okay, the scanner will likely be an app on every phone. And so
you anticipated that even when you started the company, even
absolutely.
before iPhone launched. That's pretty dope.
Well, because I just want to clarify something. This was
2007.
2007.
Yeah, before the iPhone came out. Yes.
Got it.
Yeah, and then so iPhone came out.
Smartphones yet.
So when we were building for this thing, we knew it. And then I envisioned that, okay, look, I believe, because in Japan is already there. So let's be clear. Japan is already there.
Were they using phones to scan barcodes? They were. Okay, wow.
Coupons. So in my case, I was at McDonald's, and the back of the French fry box was a QR code. And I used to work at McDonald's. I'm like, why do they have a barcode on the French fry? You don't check out with it, right? Like you order, they give it to you. So there's something weird about that. And it always struck my mind. But anyway, so my vision was like, I know there will be a scanner on every phone in the future down the road, and people will use it to drive some kind of intent behavior. How do we own the intent behavior? So I purposely positioned the company. We don't build the scanner. We assume the scanner exists. I want to build every code. I want every QR code in the world to be powered by me or my company. And then when you think about it, the QR code is nothing, just a link. It's just a binary string. That's all it is. Inside, you look at the prefix. Is it HTTP? Is it FTP? Is it SMS? Is it TEL? Based on that, it will invoke the proper app to have the right behavior. And so if you think about that, then I think about, okay, I want to own every link. What's the biggest problem with links? They're static. They can't change. Well, what if you have your shortener? And what if you had a shortener that can change dynamically based on who's scanning and what's there? And so our whole technology is built on this premise of, if you scan a QR code, we want to snapshot that instance and capture all the data we have, and then dynamically redirect the user to the intended behavior. And so that's why we drove a lot of like deep linking, app launching. But the idea is, if you're advertising, I want someone to come to my store. I want someone to buy something. But the problem is, you're printing this code ahead of time. You cannot change what it does, and it's too late. However, if it was dynamic in behavior, when someone scans based on the location, time of the day, what they have on their phone, we could dynamically route them to the right thing. That's a huge unlock, and have data. And so anyways, so that was the vision for my company, is really thinking about, basically you're all shortener on steroids that is dynamic in behavior. And so that's what we built. And the funny thing was, probably a year into after we launched, every month we see our our traffic was just skyrocketing. Like people are using these things. We're always number one if you Google for a QR code and API. And that's when Zynga reached out to us. And Zynga's really, really clever. So they reached out to us and said, hey, we love your codes. We love your technology. We just don't want the codes. We're like, what do you mean? They're like, we know what you're doing. We know you're dynamically having your shortener and it's amazing tech. We want to embed it in all our games. We're like, sure, that's awesome. And so I remember when this person reached out, it's like, we're going to do a small test. I'm like, okay, go for it. And then that small test, they embedded our links in Words with Friends. And so you think of Words with Friends, every gameplay, they'll do, post on Twitter, do this. So we ended up powering every link being shared out. And I remember like that very day we're in Chicago for Colliers, a real estate conference. They're one of our customers. And the CEO is there 10 minutes before go time. He's like, hey, your code's not working. What's going on? I go, oh yeah, let us look into that. And I'm like, guys, what the fuck's going on? How come it's down? Like, we don't know. Our servers are melting. Like, what do you mean it's melting? What does that mean? There should be no traffic. We already lit up our Amazon. He's like, no, you don't understand. It's melting. And so it turns out Zynga turned on Words with Friends like 10 minutes before we were about to launch the Colliers. And I had no idea. We were getting 20,000 requests per second and climbing. And so at that point, we're like, holy shit, we don't know what to do. Anyway, so I was like, guys, we have 10 minutes to figure this out. I'm gonna look like an ass because we're launching this thing in front of all the big wigs because we had a scavenger hunt that we're powering a QR code. So all the they all have their phones ready to try this technology. Anyways, long story short, this is why 10x engineers are great. We're able to re-siphon the traffic to a different, elastic load balancer, and so we were able to figure it out. But yeah, so that was one of our early forays in QR codes and deep linking tech. And yeah, it was quite the ride.
That is insane. Huge kudos, congrats for just the preempting all of that. And yeah, those types of stories, I feel like the last minute, like, oh shit moments, like we're gonna launch, it's gonna be way bigger than we expected. Those are always like the most fun to and you came out on the other side, which is amazing.
Yeah, and luckily, the conference was fine. They were happy and it worked out.
Yay.
So. But it could have been very different. Like
Yeah.
literally, I'm just glad Zynga launched 10 minutes before. Had they launched 10 minutes later, then
Yeah,
sorry, because literally, like the CEO's like, okay, everyone, get your phones out. We're gonna start the scavenger. We're gonna try this new technology. It's called QR codes. It's gonna change real estate because it allows people to access information, and we're gonna power in all our signs. I'm like, oh god, it better work.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's one. Like we had tons of these stories, but that's the part of startup life, right? Where would you have it any other way? Like so much fun.
Yeah. The like super anxiety inducing, like you got 10 minutes to figure this out or it's gonna explode type of thing.
Yeah.
Incredible. When ultimately, I guess in 2014, right, you decided to exit. Like, what was the idea behind deciding to take the offer? And like, can you walk us through? Like, there are the number of people that have actually like gone through successful exits is few and far between. So, would love to kind of understand that process, what it was like for you.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been getting this call a lot lately. Just even yesterday, I got a call. I'm not gonna name them, but a lot of founders. Hey, I got an offer. Do you have some advice on how to negotiate? And so, here's kind of my journey. So, at the time, everyone's reading about Yahoo and mobile. Like Marissa is buying all these companies, and mobile is becoming a major strategy. And in the back of my mind, I'm based in Seattle, so Oh, by the way, I'm wearing my Tonda shirt. You guys curious?
Nice.
Anyway, so yeah. So I was based in Seattle, and I remember reading about all these acquisitions, Yahoo, and I always thought, man, if we were a part of Yahoo, we would power the whole thing. Like we would just instantly boost them because in the end, it's driving installs is the name of the game, but really it's driving re-engagement is the true name of the game. Because you're not trying to drive installs, you're trying people to punch into your app. You're trying to drive them to play a game or do something or buy something. So that's where the real money is. And so I always thought in the back of my mind, man, like our tech would be amazing for Yahoo, but whatever, we're growing, we're doing fine. And so I think my COO got a meeting with Yahoo, or they reached out to him to talk about, hey, we wanted to partner on something, and we just want to check you out. And so he flew to the Bay Area, so we're based in Seattle. So he flew to Sunnyvale, had a meeting with them, and I think it was something like 5 minutes into the interview, or sorry, the meeting, where they're talking about, hey, what does your technology do, and all this stuff, and then the guy's like, stop. We love your thing. Are you guys for sale? And then he's like, I don't know. I got to talk to my CEO. Let me know. And I remember, just give me a second. He calls me. So I'm getting the call. He's like, yeah, I'm at Yahoo. I'm like, yeah, what's going on? yeah, are we for sale? Because they're asking if we want to be bought. And I was like, I remember thinking, well, we're not. But if it's life changing, maybe. And I told them, yeah, we're not, but I happen to be going there next week, so we can talk then. I'm just stalling, right? And then he's okay, fine. And so he literally told them, he's like, hey, yeah, so yeah, we're not for sale, but there's been a lot of interest lately. There's a lot of meetings going, which is true. And so, but he's gonna be here next week. So if you want to meet with him, then let's line it up. So anyway, so that's how the conversation started.
Nice. It's like the best way to generate like inadvertent FOMO is like when you generally like you don't need it, you don't want it necessarily, but you're open to the conversation.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
And ironically, within that week, there was a lot of inbound around that. So it's kind of like, I don't know, the universe is talking to you.
Yeah.
And so definitely, yeah, there's a lot of that.
And so,
Jesse,
go for it.
I was gonna ask, maybe you were too, Sabrina, but like the next steps that happened and any interesting tips or insights.
I have a lot
for founders going through that.
Yeah, I'll share. Actually, like literally in the last 3 days, I've done 2 of these calls, and over the last week, I've done a few more. But I'll share it this way. So, in my view, when you're in these discussions, it's like landing a jet on an aircraft carrier. And so one of the principles, if you land on an aircraft carrier, is as soon as you touch, you full throttle it, balls to the wall, right? And there's a reason for that. The reason is because if that cable snaps, you have a chance of surviving. You're not going to end up in the drink, right? In the water. And so you full throttle as you touch, and the cable's supposed to slow you down. And then hopefully you fully stop. Then you shut down the engine. And so what I mean by that is you have a startup and you're in acquisition discussions. You got to go full throttle, meaning continue to raise money.
All the other
raise money, continue to build your business. Don't shut down thinking, oh, the deal's done, we're going to slow down, because then you know what? They got you by the balls, right? So so my advice to all founders in these discussions is act as if it's not there, right? Keep doing what you're doing. So in our case, there's 2 things. One is we were always ramen profitable as we were growing. So it's kind of like, okay, we're just burning now. Okay, we're growing, we're burning now, growing. And then at the same time, it's like, well, do we want to raise more money? Do we want to whatever? Like it's always that decision, right? Do you want to grow faster? And so when these conversations start happening, we purposely like, you know what, let's just pretend those conversations don't exist. And I'm really lucky because I had an amazing board. So the angel investors in Seattle, the board was amazing. So really kudos to them for sharing with me like a lot of knowledge and wisdom. And they've had great exits. They're really well known, and they have like they've seen this a million times. So just having their foresight of kind of guiding what to do. So in my mind, when this happens, aircraft carrier landing, right? Full throttle as soon as you touch. And what's great about that is you're no longer in a compromised position. Can you imagine like, hey, I'm talking to this company, I slow things down, I shut down my sales meetings, I shut down my fundraising. Now you're kind of screwed. You have no choice but to finish this path. And like all relationships, I think if it's a good outcome, there'll likely be a break in there. Like meaning, hey, we're gonna decide to walk. This is just not where we are, and then you're gonna continue, and then maybe go back to it. And so every exit founder I talk to, it's always like that. Well, not always, but usually the sensational outcomes are always like there's always like a initial offer, no, and then they continue to grow, and then there's real FOMO, and then even more FOMO, and then okay, fine, we'll do it. So yeah.
So is the inadvertent kind of reading between the lines that you shouldn't obviously put all your eggs in that basket, but I guess more importantly, prioritizing your time when dealing with a major deal, such as an M&A or a big lead VC investor, to give them just enough of your resources and time? Because sometimes it can be all encompassing. I'm sure like the diligence.
Oh, it will be.
Right.
Yeah, it will.
So how do you balance that?
I think it's like, well, okay, so you think about any M&A deal. I'm assuming for like our size. I don't know what the mega unicorns are. So if you're a public company, all that stuff, obviously that's very different. But generally for the small, there's going to be an LOI, letter of intent of some kind. So my advice would be pre-negotiate that up front and give them nothing until then. And then only once that's executed, and usually it'll be a no shop clause, there'll be all this stuff, then you can think about due diligence. And that's the only time to really negotiate. So I would say negotiate up front with all, I'll give you a different analogy. In my view, it's like a job offer. So when you first have a job offer, are you like the rookies will share, oh, this is my expectation for salary, this is what I'm making. They'll share everything. Like, really, is that what you would do? I wouldn't do that. If I was interviewing for a job and a job offer, I'd be like, well, make me an offer.
Right.
What is the offer? Right?
Your best offer.
Yeah, what's your best offer? I'm not, what is it? And so I think for this kind of situation, it'd be the same thing, right? Okay, if you're gonna make me an offer, where is it? And until then, you get nothing. Just like back to a job offer, do you do credit history and credit check, criminal check first? No, that's the background check's the last thing. First thing you do is get the offer, you negotiate. Do we agree on terms? Is this the right thing? And then you sign the offer, and it's conditional, right? It's conditional upon reference checks, criminal background, whatever, right? It's all of that. So like in the sequencing of M&A, it's the same thing. Like you first get an LOI, which is a usually non-binding intent, a good faith intent contract with no shop and all that stuff. And then you would bake all that up front. And I think a lot of founders are making the mistake of negotiating before there's even a letter of intent. And then now they have it's just like, again, job offer, right? Are you really going to share your salary up front? Are you really going to share all this stuff up front? I don't recommend that. So anyway, so that's the dynamic that's different.
I really like that because it also sets the framework and the expectations for the next steps and the diligence.
Yes.
So people, both sides align on what's going to happen versus kind of just an indefinite series of who knows how many diligence.
There's a paradoxical view here too, and that is like, in some ways, you might think, depending on the size of the company and why they're buying you, you might think, oh, my revenue is a big plus. It could actually be a big minus, because if they want to shut you down later, it's like, oh, we have to unwind every contract, unwind every customer. So it's actually a big cost to them. And so that advantage you think you have, it might be a disadvantage later, right? It's an advantage up front because it proves that, okay, there's a real market, there's real customers, it's real validation in your business. But if the deal actually happened, it hurts you, because then now it's like, well, we have to unwind that. And so it's not always that black and white. And so that's where I always share with founders, like, hey, if you're having this discussion, think a little bit more deeper on what you're doing here, because if your revenue is too good and your contracts are too good, they might not like that, and it might hurt you. It's not always good for you, especially if you had like unlimited, really wide encompassing contract, because the parent company now absorbs and inherits that contract. That might not be good for them. They might not like that, depending on what you sign. So anyway, so there's a lot of ripple effects of these things. So it's not always that simple.
Excellent advice. I want to, so like with the exit to Yahoo, it sounds like you totally could have just rested on your laurels for the rest of your career. I'm super curious about what actually like drove you to like come out of retirement and build this next thing.
Yeah. So after the Yahoo exit, I think we had a good exit, and lucky that I had an amazing team, and a lot of them had a good exit. And so I felt like we're about to sunset. The band's going to travel the world. They're all going to do their own thing. And I was really happy about that. But I felt like, man, what a loss. Like, we built this great team and culture. And at Yahoo, we're about to build this new product called Tonda. It might sound familiar, But anyway, so I always felt like, okay, that's fine. And then that's where my manager at the time, he told me, hey, I'm about to leave. I'm like, oh, where are you going? He goes, yeah, I'm going to head to this company called Splunk. I'm like, Splunk? Oh, yeah, we use that. I'm like, are we spinning it off? Like, guys, we use Splunk so much. I thought it was an internal tool. I thought, okay, at Yahoo, this is the only, no knock on Yahoo, but I felt like this is the only great tool that we've built that I actually like. And then at that moment, I realized, oh, shit. He's like, dude, it's a public company. We talking about. I'm like, really? And I'm Googling for it as I was like, oh, dang. And then that's when I had this aha moment. I was like, you know what? Hey, what's your role there? Because I think we can keep the team together for one more round if we had this other opportunity. He's, oh, I'm going to be CTO there. And I'm like, you got room for me? And maybe some others. He's like, oh, I'm glad you brought it up because I know how to bring them. So anyway, so that was kind of like the journey of how I know at Splunk. And kind of in our conversation, I was only thinking, okay, maybe I'll go there for a year or two or something. Because I felt like, there's this opportunity to build. At first, I loved the product at Splunk. I thought it was great. And I thought, oh, we can take this amazing culture, deploy it at Splunk, and help build mobile and help build all these other things. And so that was my journey at Splunk. So it was originally only supposed to be like a short-term gig, and I ended up there for almost 5. And so yeah, that's how I ended up there.
And you expanded it, and you've really, through your career, it sounds like you were very good at the 0 to 1 phase, you also became very competent at like the 1 to a million phase. And it sounds like with that phase of your career, you wanted to continue the growth mindset. And so I feel like from an outsider's perspective, going from like 0 to 1 is a totally different skill set from like the 1 to 1,000. And how do you, and going back now to Tonda, it sounds like you're switching back to the very early phase. So one question is, how do you develop the different skill sets? And then 2, how do you maintain the drive to go back to a 0 to 1 once you're in, like, I don't know if it's more comfortable, but like the comfortable like growth phase?
Yeah, I would say 0-1 is always the hardest. I think like getting that first sale, first customer is always the hardest. And I wouldn't say, I definitely have not mastered that, but I feel like, for me anyways, it's always been like, to me, being a founder is a self-discovery journey of learning about yourself. Like what will push you, drive you, motivate you, and really get you there. And for me, I hate startups, and I always tell people this, but there are some things where I feel like someone needs to build this thing. Why doesn't it exist? The world needs this thing, and I just can't stop thinking about it. So like back to the QR code journey, it's just bothering me. It's like, why is it not out there? Like the world really needs this. You know, I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna build it. You know, so it's kind of like that. Tonda is very similar. I feel like in the world today, especially in today's high interest rates, a lot of people don't want to work in a blue collar job. There's just a lot of issues there, but I feel like we can take these amazing learnings from tech and bring it to blue collar industries. And so as an example, I like to share, like in startups, you have people fucking grind, right? There's not a lot of money. It's not a glorious job, but man, people will grind and be excited and work hard. And then you have people like work at NVIDIA with FU money. They also will fucking grind and work hard. Why is that? So it's not money. Money's not the thing. It's something deeper. It's like this purpose, mission, culture, this great environment. And so imagine you take this and apply it to construction, manufacturing, restaurants. There's all these industries where there could be great careers there, but a lot of people don't see it that way. And so for me, that's why I'm building this, because I feel like, man, like there's just so much great opportunity where you can help these businesses and these careers of people. And that's what I'm always excited about, is like, hey, because the job I've always wanted doesn't exist. So I'm always like, I'm going to build it. I'm going to make wrap a team, a company, whatever, a culture around it, and help create it. And so that's what excites me about Tonda. It's hard. And I like to say this, look, there's no guarantees in life. I cannot guarantee success, but I'll guarantee you this: we'll have fun doing it, right? Even if the ship's burning, we're the guys playing the band and the music in the Titanic as it's crashing. You know, that's us. You know, we'll go down swinging. And there's always a backup plans and stuff like that. So that's really kind of my view.
I love that vision. I've honestly had this like low level anxiety around how I feel all people of like our current generation are putting their kids in high paying education so they can get high paying jobs, basically funneling everyone in to be an AI software engineer. And there are so many other job functions inside of our society that need to be staffed that no one is trying to go for. And it's creating such a weird tier system, and it's changing the way that we're becoming a very like monolithic society. And I think it's going to bite us in the ass in the next couple of years. And so it sounds like Tonda's directly trying to solve that problem, which I didn't understand even from the original, I guess, a couple sentences of the description of the company. But like, tell me more about like how this is driving you and why, how are you building this?
Yeah, I'll share. So Fortune released this article about 3 weeks ago, and it says on average, 79% all workers are disengaged. And by definition of disengaged, it means doing bare minimum work to get paid. And the cost to companies is enormous. It's at minimum 18% of your average annual salary. So you think about it, your average workforce, almost 80 out of 100 people are disengaged, meaning just not working, slacking, whatever. And every owner I talk to, they go, I think it's worse. Like they're not even, they don't even question that number. They go, I think it's worse. And I'm like, oh man, that's horrible. And if you break it down, like, okay, why? There's top 3 reasons why, and it makes a lot of sense. The first reason is lack of like perceived better benefits somewhere else. The grass is greener on the other side. You're lucky I even show up to work today because I feel like I'm being underpaid. So that's one. Second thing is this lack of supportive environment. My company doesn't care about me. My coworkers don't care about me, so I don't care about them. And then the third is lack of progression. I'm on a hamster wheel. I'm constantly running, no progression. I'm just getting burnt out and tired. And so it's going to be a combination of those 3. and that makes a lot of sense, right? I worked a lot of jobs. I can see how that is. But imagine a world where if you invert that, and we've solved this in tech. And so this is what's fun about tech. So it's in tech, we've solved perceived lack of pay or better benefit. It's called vesting benefits. You get equity in the company, invest over time. And so that is fixed by tech. Second thing is this lack of supportive environment. We've solved that with peer bonuses, right? With kudos, like, oh man, good job, and you give someone a badge. And then the third thing is like progression. Well, we have career ladders. Even ICs have career ladders, right? Historically, it's only management. And so in tech, we've really nailed those three things really well. And so we bring that to blue collar. So when we jump into a company now, they're like, oh my God, we need this. I'll share another example. So I recently got a call from the CEO of a restaurant association. I won't name which state. And he shared, our industry is dying because we're fighting for survival. And there's prices are rising. Customers don't want to pay more because if you pay more, they don't want to eat at a restaurant. And workers don't want to work. He's like a triple threat. You're being bombarded on all levels. And then he goes, when I heard about what you guys are doing, you solve all three and then some. Because imagine, like, I like to paint this vision. So I do a lot of work in restaurants. My family still does own one, my uncle. And so I love restaurants. I think it's an amazing career. You can start there and do all these things, but a lot of people don't see it that way. They see it as, oh, it's an entry level dead end. It's like, whereas it's actually the opposite. It's actually a great front door. You can do a lot of things, including moving up. And so imagine a world where, hey, if you use Tonda, you can level up your career there. It's kind of like your gamer profile. Would you ever abandon your Xbox account or your PlayStation? No, you wouldn't. The reason is because you invested so much into it. But imagine just like credit history, your work history is meaningfully there. You can ladder and level up. And so when we come in, we kind of bring all these things really easily. We can literally drop in, and now you're if you're a restaurant, as an example, your biggest problem is people coming in late, call outs. I'm always sick. I'm always late. But we can flip that around. We can easily motivate people and drive them, get them excited. And so, anyways, that's kind of the model that we have, and that's why I'm so excited about what we do.
I am really excited about that. I think, honestly, and even some teams, what I've worked at in tech, there is something underlying that prevents people from being as motivated to really contribute. And I think that attrition, honestly, in large tech companies is getting to be very high. It wasn't so in the past, I think, 10 years, but in the past, 2 to 3, everyone I hear is, looking for like the next greener pasture to move on to. And so I think the issues that you're bringing up in terms of why they'd want to leave or why they see that there are greener pastures is more of an interpersonal, I guess it's not riff, I guess, but there's some types of teams in which there's like the one guy that like brings sunshine to the entire organization. You're like, I would do anything to follow this guy, and I will like work my ass off, and I don't even necessarily need to like make $20 million at the end of the day, like as long as I get to like have my day-to-day be in an engaging environment. So how do the 3 points that you mentioned craft that environment within an organization?
Yeah, so we have some secret sauces there. So but I'll start with, in my first principle, I'll go back to McDonald's because I love working there, but I hate the job. Well, I love McDonald's, so I still go there. But it comes back to, like, you think about why people stay. I think, like, I watch a lot of my cousins in the armed forces and stuff like that, and so him and his war, but like the camaraderie. It's like, do you really like being in a war? I don't know. I think most of them don't. But it's the camaraderie, right? It's the brotherhood. It's this mission of doing something greater. And so I think that's what companies are losing sight of. And so if we can help a restaurant or a business do that, like, that's amazing. And so I think as a company, so we're really choosy about the partners that we work with. So we look at, hey, what is their cultural aspirations? What do they want to do? Or is the owner operator really invested in his or her staff? And do they want to grow? If they don't, then we will walk. Like, that's not going to work for us. But if you are, we can do some amazing things with you. And so that's the first thing. And the second thing is, I think a lot of blue collar leaders is they lack the formal training and investment that we've had. So as an example, they don't know what psychological safety means. And so when you walk in and you go, hey, do people feel safe to admit an error or mistake? They're like, what does that mean? Like, why is that important? And so like, but from first principles, they actually don't know. And it kind of makes sense. They grew up from a school of hard knocks. And so they have amazing experience, amazing background, but they lack the formal education and training that a lot of tech industries have. And a lot of the middle managers in tech companies, they actually don't know because they have frameworks they're following. So they're not the founders. And so there's kind of like this guiding hand that just tells them what to do. But when there's stress and there's change, like the founders have left, something has changed, then it's like, oh, we lost our North Star. Where did that guiding light come from now? We don't know. And so that's why I think you see that with a lot of like I call second gen, third gen leaders where they actually have no idea. And so anyway, so a lot of problems stem from that. And so when we come in, we can really help with that. And I'll share the secret sauce. The secret sauce is our team and culture has been around for like 25 plus years. And so we have this aura of like, this is what great teams mean, great culture. We've survived many companies. And so when we pop into a company, we extend our culture and merge with them. And so it's like, hey, here's the kind of principles that align with us. And what do you want to do? And then now we can map what's missing. And we're very specific. This is not just like some pie in the sky stuff. It's very specific about the way we would apply our product, the way we would pulse the employees and find out what motivates them, and the way we deliver it. Our activation rates are huge. So when we activate with a company, most benefits, if you're blue collar, 10% is really good for 401k. Like that's the gold standard. When we pop into a company in the first week, we expect to be north of 75%. We want 75% of all invited employees to activate in our product. And so we have a high confidence of how do we do that. And again, that comes from our culture. That comes from merging of the two. And so, so we have a lot of secret sauce around how we operate, how we do that. But it really centers around what drives and motivates companies. And I think a lot of companies have lost their way.
Is the team at Tonda the same as at Spark?
There's a lot of overlap, but no,
Yeah.
It's evolved. My co-founder from Spark is my co-founder here.
Amazing.
Yeah. But yeah, it's not the same. And I look at it this way. I tell everyone, hey, we're building this massive castle. And when that drawbridge comes down, it's your time. You better jump in because it's going to, pop back up.
Yeah.
And so I'm very selective about, hey, the timing. Like I think, there will be a time and place for everyone, but this company's different. And so, there's a really lucky and grateful. There's a massive line of people, like thousands of people that want to work here, but we're small, right?
Yeah.
And we're purposely brick by brick building. So I can't wait to the day when we draw that, lower the drawbridge and allow more people in. But yeah, we're working towards that.
Totally. No, and one of the things that we talked about before we hopped on the podcast was your mentality around scaling. And I was actually really taken aback. The way that you're scaling currently is like against every single VC piece of advice that most people give. You're intentionally not building a scalable model at this point in time. Can you elaborate on the desire to fight that, general advice that people give and why it's really important for this type of company that you're building?
Yeah, I think it depends on the VC. I wouldn't say they're all against it. Some definitely are, but that's why we don't choose them. But anyway, so I think we can all agree PMF is the number one focus of all companies, right? Product market fit. 0-1 is the hardest. So you think about 0 to 1. What is 0 to 1? Are you literally trying to go to 1 or are you trying to go to 10? Or are you trying to go to 50? So I would say 0 to 1 is literally your first customer. It's literally the first, thing you're doing. And so, so for us, we're really purposely really focused on hyper-local now. So when we've been through a few, so when we started Tonda, we were very B2B to C focused, right? Thinking about the consumer. But then we had a lot of epiphanies after we started interviewing the actual end users of our company. Our product. We also interviewed a lot of owners of business. Then we realized, whoa, we should actually focus on the owner of a business because they're willing to deploy capital to invest in their employees. And so that was a new learning from us. And then in my mind, I was like, man, if I wanted to kill Tonda, I would get money from the employers and redeploy it to the product to the employees. That'd be a much better value than a B2C product because we can't compete with that. Like the B2C product would be like, yeah, hey, you pay a subscription. Whereas on the other side, your employer is paying you a lot more money through there and doing more things. It's like, well, the employer side would win if it's a good product. So, so as we went through that progression, then I realized, okay, we got to go B2B. And if we go B2B, regardless, I think we might as well win in our own backyard. So there's a great sales coach. His name is Mitch Mirando, and you watch his videos on YouTube, and I love his methodology. He's like, look, California is the world's 5th largest GDP. You might as well win in your own backyard, because if you can't win in your own backyard, then how are you gonna win anywhere else? And so that really struck me. And then also at the time, I was like, look, we're flying to Vegas, we're flying everywhere. I was like, oh, I really don't like flying. I know Simon flies a lot, but anyway. So, but for me, I was like, I would rather just drive down the street and talk to a local factory owner, restaurant owner, whatever, than I would like flying all the way to the places. Like, don't get me wrong, I want to own the world, and we will. But I might as well own my backyard first. That latency, like latency in communication, is huge, right? Just even scheduling a meeting. And so, and plus, we love popping in. So like we work with a lot of construction companies and manufacturing. We just drop in with donuts and coffee, just say, hey, how are things going, guys? Just want to check out the product. And then we kind of like debug if there's an issue. You can't do that when they're like, other side of the country, right? You just can't do that. It's not that easy. Hey, is Bob here? No. Okay. Well, I'll get him. I'll come next week, And so,
at least not with founder-led sales, which sounds like you're very focused on, right?
Yeah. Yes. And so anyway, so when we go 0 to 1, we're purposely very hyper local. Now, mind you, that's because our ICP is here. If you're working in some nascent area and there is no customer here, then maybe you should move there, right? And so these are some things to consider.
And so your strategy around founder-led sales, I think, is you're mentioning some really interesting nuances. You mentioned that you're not just trying to sell them the software, like you're actually trying to position yourself as an expert. Can you walk through like the difference between that?
Yeah, that was a big unlock for me. So, I've heard the total founder-led sales, but I never internalized what it meant until recently. So that's a new one for me. Even though my last company was all enterprise sales, even though I work for a large enterprise SaaS company, but founder-led sales is very different because it's a very finite point in time in the life of a company. But look at it this way. My hourly billing rate is insane. If you hired me for something in tech, it would be a lot. But if you hired me as a startup founder, maybe not so much, right? And so now when I meet with a founder or CEO, I'm actually wearing a different hat. I'm wearing, hey, I'm a team culture leader builder hat. I'm an efficiency expert, and I know how to turn companies around. And so I'm wearing that hat through the lens of my startup. And so now when I punch in, I'm it's more like a consultation, but you're actually buying me, right? And my time as a founder, and deploying through my company and product, I will help you, but only through that lens. And so I like to give the analogy. It's like when you hire a plumber, I got a leaky pipe over there. Can you fix it? I'm not going to sit there and, hey man, can you show me some pictures of pipes you fix? I don't care. You just go fix it. Right. And what's your hourly rate? $1,000. Oh shit. Okay, fine. Here it is. So when I come into companies, okay, you have a retention problem, you have a productivity problem, you have like disengagement problem. Okay, we can fix that. So, and what you're buying is that guy full of shit? Do I believe this person? Do they have the ability to do it? And so that's founder-led sales. And that's the big unlock for me. It was like, whoa, you're actually buying that person experience, reputation, and skill, rather than all the features and crap they're going to talk about. And so that was the big unlock for me, because I can do that all day long. And I have the Rolodex. They say, yeah, you want some references? Be like, which one do you want? Whereas if I come in with features as a startup founder, that's a big disadvantage, right? It's because 0 to 1, you haven't proven anything. Anyway, so founder-led sales, the big unlock is you're the subject matter expert. They're buying you, right? They're buying trust that you can deliver, and I think that's magical for me.
I like the perspective that you took of putting yourself in the customer's shoes, because normally when we talk about founder-led sales, it's actually the opposite. It's like, what are the benefits for the founder? Like hearing from the customers, getting feedback, adjusting product to be better fitting to the customer. But this is actually the first time I've heard it as a like tangible benefit from the customer side as well. Yeah, sure. Like, of course, it's going to be easier to get meetings with decision makers, and they are going to feel more valued.
Yeah. And in the end, it's trust, right? It's like, okay, Jesse, you're putting your reputation on the line by saying this, and they're okay with that, because in the end, I like it's founder to founder, right? I generally only meet with CEOs, so I meet with the CEO of the company. They might not be the founder; they could be second gen, third gen, whatever. That's fine. But I'm meeting with the top brass at the company, and let's just figure it out. And that's why now we're very selective, right, of who we work with. Meaning, hey, if it's not a good fit, let's just not do it. I don't want to waste time. I don't want to waste your time. And my time is more precious than yours, meaning I don't have as much time as you, right? Because as a startup, we have finite runway. And so our goal is to build use cases, right? Build case studies like, hey, did we really move the needle for you as a company? Is this pain so good? And is this like a lighthouse customer? Like, meaning if we were to write this case study on what we did for you, would that unlock the industry? Would that be valuable? And so I think that's the rubric I'm wearing. And that's very how could you not raise money with that, right? If you think about it, like, how could you not be successful? Or you'd be a lot more successful if you're going that path. Because now when every customer you're serving, you're unlocking an industry. And so anyways, that's how I internalize it now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, last question on this topic, and then we'll move on.
Yeah.
I feel like people could listen to this and feel like, oh, you're a laid back founder, you're just kind of going around meeting with customers. But actually, from our previous conversations, I feel you are an extremely aggressive founder in terms of setting milestones for yourself and for your team. Mm-hmm. So could you just comment on that and like how you balance that, I guess, maybe how you set those aggressive goals?
Yeah, I'll work backwards. So I remember my first company, and I met with Larry Smith. So shout out to Larry Smith, who's a econ professor at Waterloo, and he also teaches the entrepreneurial course. And so he's a great professor. And I remember sitting with, how I dropped out of school. So the first thing, I went to the dean, went to the co-op building, got funding. Oh, by the way, you got to talk to Larry Smith. So we had 3 meetings that day. So I went to Larry Smith, and then he's like, what are you guys doing? We're like, yeah, we're dropping out. We got funding. We're building this company. He's like, what the hell are you guys building? And it kind of saying this guy, I don't know what you guys are saying, but I'll share some parting advice. He goes, the worst thing in life. He goes, and I remember he's like, I've been doing this for 20 years. Like, I guess it's 40 now, right? But anyways, at the time, he's like, I've been doing this for 20 years. There's so many storied founders, including the founder of RIM. He sat in that chair that you're sitting at, like the one I was sitting at. And he goes, here's my advice to you. And he goes, I wish you great success or great failure. Because the worst thing in life is mediocre success. And he shared what that meant. He goes, you don't know how many countless times I met with a founder 20 years later, and they go, oh my God, I hate my life. Like FML. This is the worst thing ever because I had mediocre success, just kind of okay for 20 years. And he goes, what a waste. And so I really internalize that. And so what I do is I set very clear milestones. We have to achieve this by this time. If not, we're dead. We move on. And so for my last company, we had very specific milestones for Spark. It's like, okay, can I get one more guy to join me within 6 months? If not, it's just a fun exercise. Okay. Can we build an API and ship it? Just ship it. Can we get one person we don't know to use the product? And eventually say, okay, can we set a milestone where we get some kind of funding? And if we get funding, we better quit and go full time. Okay, we go full time, we better make some money. And then we get, and anyway, so you get the idea. But I would always time bound each one such as not mediocre success. And if it hit that time, I like that forcing function because you know what? There's so many options in life. I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, I'm going to go forever and do it no matter what. Hell no. Like, that's just not me. And so for Tonda, for every company I build now, I have very specific timelines. If we don't do this by this time, we're dead. And I wouldn't have it any other way. And if you're dead, maybe you pivot, maybe you do something else. But I think we're very specific. So yeah, we have some. And so in case of Tonda,
communicate these aggressive goals to
the team,
leaders, to everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and board members and investors, I guess, as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's like, hey, here's what we're doing. If not, we're out. And so we're very specific about it. And I think it's good to have that clarity up front, and it's good to rally. And then I use this analogy. So if you ever watch the old like kung fu movies, they always have this thing where, okay, the master gets injured and they have this self-healing methodology, right? Okay. Can you put that boulder in front of the cave I'm in? The only way I can come out is if I heal myself and blast that boulder out of the way. Otherwise, I'm going to die. So they purposely put themselves in a do or die situation, or they get a big, massive bell that just protects them. But again, they have to heal themselves so they're strong enough to punch that bell out, and so they can get away. So I think as a startup, it's kind of the same thing, right? You have all these pressures, runway, whatever. And so I'm a fan of like the only way to exit is you got to survive. You got to close enough deals or raise more money or whatever, and then you time bound it. That way, it's not mediocre success. and that's the worst thing in life. So yeah, so that's my methodology.
I love
That's
it.
badass. I love it. So, Jesse, I feel like there's a million more questions I'd love to ask you. Unfortunately, we are wrapping up the end of the hour. So I
Could
want
do a whole other hour with
seriously,
Jesse.
I know. But I guess to wrap up, would love to get your impression of who was the most important person in your career to date and why. It sounds like it might have been that advisor at Waterloo, but I'm curious if there's other folks that have been really influential.
That's a tough one. Yeah, I do think it's Larry Smith. He really like that principle of not to have mediocre success in life. I really carry that, and I think it's important to have that, because then it's a forcing function to really distill what is mediocre for you and what does success mean, and everyone has their own, but at least you're true to yourself. And so that's that's definitely,
life is short, man. Mediocrity sucks. Not worth your time. Well, cheers to Larry Smith. Really excited.
Cheers to Larry Smith.
I've heard about his stories.
Yeah.
Amazing, Jesse. Thank you so much. We learned so much on this podcast. Really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for all the
insights. I'll wrap up.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks, Jesse. Thanks, Sabrina, for driving so well as usual. Thanks to all our listeners. It's been great. Beers with VCs with Jesse Chor. See you next time.
Happy Friday.
Thanks, guys. Right, see ya.
Bye.